Hi everyone, my name is Miss Han. A lot of you will know me as Miss Han, but today in class we are going to be learning about roots, prefixes, and suffixes. So we have a pretty fun lesson. We're going to work on that, and that's what our SOL will be on today and what we will want to cover throughout class. So, what are roots, prefixes, and suffixes? Well, that's a great question. We're going to start to understand the new and unfamiliar ways that we can break down words, and that will look a little different by the different words. We're going to learn some examples, and we're going to do some prep work together in order to understand it, and then we'll go further into detail about how to break down the words specifically. So what we want to learn is how to determine the meaning of the words using roots, prefixes, and suffixes. So does anyone know what a root or a prefix or suffix might be? Best guess. Okay. Johnny, I think we know that you're right and that prefixes are the little pre part of the word. Pre as in the beginning, the little tiny bit of the beginning of the word. So that's awesome. Alright, a suffix. What do we think suffix is? No one knows. Okay, we will talk more about that in a second. Let's skip forward to root words. So what do you think root words might be? Okay, we have some ideas that root words might be a root like a tree. It's something that dives down beneath the surface. It makes up our word. It's the key portions of the word. That's really good. Okay, so I'm going to hand out some sticky notes, 2 to 3 per student, and then we're going to watch a quick YouTube video, and what I want you to do is throughout the video, I want you to take notes of what prefixes, suffixes, or root words you might see. So let's watch that. Okay. Alright, while the video is wrapping up, can anyone raise a hand and tell me a root word that they might have written down? Or even just a prefix? Okay, so re is a great prefix. That's awesome, Abigail. We heard that when they were talking about redoing an assignment. That's a really great one. One example that I'm going to write on our whiteboard is reheated. So we're going to look at this. So we have reheated, and this is my whiteboard. So reheat ed. This is a great example of our prefix, our suffix, and our root. That's great. Alright, so we're going to look at this word very carefully, and we might notice that there are smaller words hidden inside. What I want you to do now is write this on one of your extra sticky notes and break it down into 3, just like I've done. Alright, why don't you turn to your partner and share what root words you found, and I'm going to take a little lap around our room. Okay? So, talking about root words are in its simplest form. It's small. When I think of root, I can think of a tree, but it is a smaller word. It can have beginnings or endings, and it can be added to different words to make it a beginning or an ending. And when we combine root words with beginning and endings, it can create new words. So if you've ever wanted to create new words, you may have seen that you may have wanted to make up words. Maybe when you were little, you started to make up some words for your mom, and she was like, that's not real English. Well, root words can help us make up words. So, re means, again, redoing. If you had to redo an assignment for Miss Han or Miss Ellis's English class, you'd have to complete it again. That's a really good root word. So, let's see. If you reheated something, you made some popcorn in the microwave and it was too cold when it got out, you would reheat it. Okay? So, can anyone give me another example of redo, readjust? Those are good words. So, each of these word parts contribute to the meaning of a word. So, knowing the root words, suffixes, and prefixes can help you determine the unfamiliar words. Okay? Do you have any questions about that? What are unfamiliar words? Unfamiliar words are words that we just are unsure about. I might say a really big word, like if we were talking about reheated and you didn't know what that would be. Unfamiliar would just be something you haven't learned yet, which is why we're in school. So let's see. We are going to move on into another word. So I'm going to write this on my board. It's dissect. So we're going to dissect some words today to discover their meanings and further grow in our understanding. So dissect. Okay? Die, which I'm going to rewrite on our board. Die means two or double. So I'm going to write that below. Two or double. Question? Yes, Jackson. Double and two can often mean the same thing. That's right. And then sect, which is the ending of our word, means to cut. So dissect, and we're going to put cut here. So, what do you think together, what does this word mean? What does dissect mean? Yes, Claudia, it does mean to cut into two. Now we're going to do submarine on my next paper. And what do you think are prefixes for submarine? Cameron, you are right. It is sub. That is correct. So this is our prefix. And it's kind of funny. Prefix has its own little prefix. Perfect. All right. So what do we think sub and mar mean? So sub means under, and mar means sea. So when we put submarine, what do we think we can get from submarine? What do you think that means? Or do you know what a submarine is? Yes, Jackson, that is correct. A submarine, it means it's something that goes under the water. We might have seen videos of this, and it's something that goes under the sea. Perfect. Okay, so we have one more word I'm going to put on the back of this paper, and I want you to turn to your partner once I show you it and dissect it with them. So, biology. What do we think this might mean? You might have heard of biology in science class. Alright, I'm going to come around and check your work on your note cards and ask if there's any questions. Okay. As we wrap that up, we are going to move into a more hands-on portion. So what I want you to do is I'm going to give you a list of prefixes, suffixes, and root words. And you might have seen this in 5th grade. Since we're in 6th grade, this is a great review, and you're going to be using them throughout the year. So that's why we want to go through it now so you guys have a great understanding of it in the future. So we're going to use these to help dissect our words, which was one of our words we wrote on our board. Dissect. Okay? We're going to do one more word on our board, and that is centipede. So, what I want you to do is look for the part of the word on the table, which I've scattered around some prefixes that are cut up, and what I want you to do is look for the part of the word and ask, I'm going to ask for some volunteers to have your findings for what senti means. So that's this beginning portion of the word, our prefix. Okay? Does anyone know what senti might mean? Well, if we're familiar with math, we know that centi means 100. So this is a little tip into math. We might be in English, but it all ties together. So 100. And let's think about what the root word PED might mean. What do we think? So PED is our root right here. Nice squiggle lines under it. All right. Does anyone have any ideas? I might need to call on someone. Okay, Jackson, what do you think? Ped is our, ped is the second part of the word, okay? So ped, this one's really tricky. It talks about like feet or foot, okay? So since we figured out that, even though you might not have known that ped means foot, which is kind of tricky, and I understand this is a new one for us. You are used to know the word centipede. You've used the word centipede to figure it out. So you used your strong thinking muscles in your brain, and you were able to figure out that centi and ped is a type of bug. And if you've ever seen one before, they're little creepy crawlers. But ped could mean like a pedestrian, so someone who crosses the street, or even a pedicure that relates to feet. So if you ever got your nails done, boys, that would be something, pedicure. And then when we don't know what our root word means, we can use what we know about the word to determine what the word might mean. So what I want you to do is, if you ever come across a word in a book or on your SOL test and you don't know, break it down. Do what we just did here, especially like this one is a great one. With submarine, we break it down. We see maybe what does sub mean. Sub could mean Subway, a sub sandwich, and sub might remind you that a sub is something that goes underwater. Maybe you had seen one. Maybe you've gotten to go on one in Washington, D.C. So always break down the words. Our last word is going to be critical. So I'm going to, let's move past that and talk about like sickle. So sickle could mean a bicycle, it could mean recycle, it could mean cycle or cyclone. Does anyone have any other sickle? Popsicle, that's a great one, Abigail. Thank you for raising your hand. So if the root word sickle means circle, we know that sickle has something to do with a circle. So we can always relate it back. So now we're going to work with our partner in the seat next to us to determine the meaning of several words using their parts, and I'm going to give you those in a worksheet. Okay, any questions? No? Alright, we are going to move into a time of some independent work. So I am going to hand out a worksheet that looks like this. It's about roots, prefixes, and suffixes, and if you have any questions, I will be here to help you. For my special kiddos who might want to hear, this read aloud, I will be available for that too. I know, Johnny, if you'd like to step in the hall while you whisper read this sheet to yourself, you may. But always remember, guys, put your name, and I'd like you to put your home base too. So, I'll do Miss Hahn, and I'll just put Miss Ellis as my home base, okay? So HB Ellis, alright? Looks good. And then what I want you to do is complete the sentences below. And then these are connecting the prefixes and root words. So restart, underway, sub, and you tell me what you think sub might go with. So that is a good time for independent work. I'd like you to begin with no talking, just to respect our peers, and I will be coming around to help you with the rest of it. Next. Alright, as we are wrapping up, we're going to listen to a prefix and suffix song. Make sure your name's on your paper while I begin the video. Watching the video. And then we have a second sheet that we're going to start for the end of class, but we might push into homework, okay? So, this is our second sheet. What you're going to do is fill in the blanks again with the word bank and choose the suffixes that change the part of speech or tense of the word, okay? Then we have a story below, and we are going to do that section as a class today. So, the story says, I'm going to read it aloud. Trina had a busy day at school. In her art class, she built a sculpture. So let's highlight our key words that we want to know. So sculpture is a good one. Out of clay. Later in science class, a visiting neurologist, we can break this word down too. So our beginning showed the class a video of brain surgery. Math was tricky because Trina wasn't sure she could remember the difference between a quadrilateral, which is a big word, so we want to highlight that, and a pentagon. Let's highlight that as well. Trina was glad when she was dismissed from her class at the end of the day. So, we're going to break down our keywords that we highlighted here and put them in our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 column. It has the beginning, so our keyword was sculpture, so we have sculpt as our beginning sentence, and I want you to fill in the rest of it. So use this story to help you fill in the blanks, alright? So you all begin on that. Okay. Alright, our last and final group project while you're working your groups of 4 will be a challenge. So, I always like to include a challenge. It's good to keep your brain pumping. So, we're going to have your little groups create your own words using prefixes, suffixes, roots, and this will be what your very last number 4 post-it note will be for. So, in your groups, decide on a word and put that right on your post-it note, okay? Alright, any questions? We have some silly words going on. Good, always put your answers on there and I'll get a look at them later. Maybe we can use a few in our class. Alright, for our assessment portion, we're going to be working in our small groups and we're going to create a still or moving prefix, suffix, and root words. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to work in your group, and then I'm going to invite you to share them with the class, alright? Okay. Alright, as we begin to wrap this up, I'm going to post an exit ticket on Google Classroom, and what I'd like you to do is pick a word that you didn't know from, maybe it was from our little story, or it could have been one of our words from here, or one of the words that are written up on our board. So I want you to pick one of those and reply to my Google question on Google Classroom, and then it looks like we'll be wrapping up class. Do we have any more questions about prefixes, suffixes, all the good stuff, root words? We're going to be learning more about this tomorrow and continuing our lesson along. What I'd like you to do is, if you didn't have a chance to finish any of the worksheets from us moving too quickly, I'd like you to finish that for homework, and then I will be posting the videos from our class today on our prefixes, roots, and suffixes, so you can rewatch those. We will have a quiz on our words from our story next week. I will post a Quizlet with that, and you guys can begin studying, and I think I hear the bell ringing, so have a great fourth period. Sorry, the third period.